Samoa Joe suspended by WWE. The Undertaker spotted in Saudi Arabia for tomorrow's Super Showdown event. Rusev wants out of WWE. Kenny Omega is fine and content being in six-man tag schmaz matches for the foreseeable future. Who's inducting my boy, the British Bulldog, into the Hall of Fame? A lot to talk about in this week's podcast. But first, we got to take it down a notch, and I have some unfortunate news, but those of you that watch every minute of every vid and listen to every minute of every podcast, this isn't a shocker to you. I told you guys at the top of the month, and I retold you guys in yesterday's Raw video, that this will be the last vid for February. I have a business trip to go on. It's going to take several days. I am going to miss the Super Showdown review, and I am going to miss the AEW Revolution review. That sucks. I'm not happy about it, but this is the only long weekend that I could conduct this business. So I hope you guys understand and accept my sincerest apology. I wanted to give these reviews absolutely, especially AEW's Revolution. But I'm just going to be unable to. If I am able to get what I hope to have one day to myself, I'm going completely off the grid. Because this business trip, I'm going to be surrounded by a lot of people for many days. There's one day, there's a chance I might get a day to myself. At that point, I'm going off the grid and away from people. So I won't be making any vids or any podcast or any content. And aside from that one day, again, it's just strictly business. So I'm going to miss the Revolution review and the Super Showdown review. I'm just reiterating that. So the day after these events, you're not thinking, where's BC's review? BC's out of state. BC's conducting business in a faraway land. So that's the deal, guys. I know that sucks. I know these are two huge events. But if I don't conduct this business now, it would have been pushed back closer to WrestleMania. And I want to be on this road with you guys when it matters the most. And that's why if I conduct this business now, I'll be back with you guys early next week. Hopefully, by this Monday's Raw review, I will be back. That means I'll have the entire month of March to rock out the road to WrestleMania with you guys. That's why I want to get this done now. So I hope you guys understand. This will be the last vid/podcast for February. The good news is there's only a few days left in February. So that's it. One weekend we got to get by, and I'll be back with you guys. Now, I want to start with what is clearly the hottest news story in the pro wrestling world at the moment, and that is WWE suspending Samoa Joe for 30 days for violating their wellness policy program. Now, I know Samoa Joe is one of those names that comes across your newsfeed and you're thinking, nah, there's got to be a mistake. Not Joe, he wouldn't do this. But we shouldn't be shocked and surprised anymore, because there's a lot of individuals within the last couple of years that comes across our newsfeed in connection with violating the wellness policy program, and we're thinking, there's no way they could have done that. These are names we never would have suspected would even be in the conversation of violating WWE's wellness policy program, but turns out that's what the facts indicate. Samoa Joe is just another name on a very long list in recent years that have been found in violation of this program. In the recent 30 to 60 days, the past couple of months, we've seen people like Primo Colon, Robert Roode, Andrade. They've all violated. Samoa Joe is just, again, the latest name. We're actually hearing there's more names to be announced. So how long after they find the violation out, how long after do they have to make an announcement? That's what I wonder. Is there a mandate? Is there a certain time frame that they have to get information out to the public? Is there a time frame where they have to take a wrestler off the road? In other words, if you are found in violation on January 12th, can they take you off the road March 14th and make the announcement? It looks like WWE has free reign to do such, because with Samoa Joe, we heard earlier in the month that Joe had violated, but there was no facts yet to back that up and no announcement by WWE. But we were hearing reputable sources say that Joe had violated their wellness policy. Then we started hearing Joe just got a concussion on a commercial that he was filming for WWE. So we were all thinking, okay, well, it went from he violated the wellness policy to he got a concussion? Nobody knew what was really truthful, and nobody was coming out with actual fact. WWE wasn't opening their mouth. Samoa Joe wasn't opening up their mouth. We were just hearing concussion. Now, he may have suffered a concussion on a commercial. That may be true. But I'll tell you what's damn true also. That's the fact that Joe absolutely violated the wellness policy program because WWE has said such. They had conducted their own testing. The facts had determined that Joe had failed. So if we were hearing this earlier in the month, and then everyone threw it to the wayside, no, there's no truth to that, but all of a sudden, weeks later, we're hearing there is truth to it, leads you to believe that maybe he violated when everybody thought he did, end of January, early Feb. Or maybe they found out during the same round of testing as Andrade. But it makes you wonder. No matter what the time frame is, that doesn't matter as far as when he actually failed, when they made the announcement. That's all X's and O's to complete the rap sheet. What really does matter time-wise and time frame-wise is WrestleMania. Because this dude is going to miss another WrestleMania. Do you guys realize that? This is somebody that debuted in 2017. He should be having his 4th WrestleMania match. 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 should be his 4th WrestleMania match. But for some reason, the old man in Stamford made him sit out 2017's WrestleMania, and they had him debut the night after. This dude was ready to go at Mania, even if it was just a run-in after a match. He just wanted to participate. And Vince kept him off the show completely. He was a big name at the moment. Just dropped the NXT championship. Everybody knew he was coming anyway. Would have been a big WrestleMania moment, but they kept him off. The following year, I believe he was injured, but he was able to come back by WrestleMania. Vince again chose to keep him off Mania. Last year, he finally had his Mania match. I believe it was against Rey Mysterio. And that was a quick match because they were running out of time on some of their bigger matches, so Joe didn't even get to go out there and compete for more than 5 minutes. And then here we are in his 4th opportunity, and it looks like he's missing yet another WrestleMania. So this guy just has zero luck when it comes to Manias. Because if you look at the 30 days, WWE is saying that it took effect on the 24th of February. That is this past Monday. So if you go 30 days from there, you're talking about March 25th, right? That's a Wednesday. March 25th. So the next date that Joe would show up, earliest, would be the 30th of March, that Monday. Because again, he's officially off his suspension on a Wednesday, the 25th of March, but he's part of the Raw brand, so he'd come back on Monday the 30th. That would be the go-home show to WrestleMania. I doubt very much they're going to bring Joe back just days before Mania. There's no program that can start. Maybe they'll have him run in during WrestleMania. But it looks like Joe is going to miss this. Another WrestleMania that Joe has to sit on the sidelines. Now, I'm not going to speculate on what he actually violated with. These days, people are taking anything to make them feel a little better, to make their muscles and bones ache less. Something a little bit more powerful than Tylenol, right? So you can't blame them. However, with how strict WWE's testing is these days, they have to know that anything they're putting into their bods, they have to know what is in it. They cannot trust their doc without running it through multiple docs. If you're going to take a new tablet, a prescription, anything, you have to know what's in it, and I would make many phone calls. And you have to believe that these testings, they come in bulks as far as violations. So you think it's something that's making its round around or within the locker room, but you can't be sure. It could just be something that Joe thought was a little more powerful than a Tylenol. His muscles were aching. He's been on the road for so long. He's been putting his best foot forward for so long. The guy is near 40, if not already 40, right? Late 30s at least. He's no spring chicken. So I doubt, I mean, whenever this happens, people like to speculate about drugs and whatnot. I wouldn't go to anything like that. It could just be something that he was trying to relieve some pain, and it had something that he was not supposed to be taking. Until we find out more facts, then we speculate on that. I'm more concerned with Joe's career, character-wise, and as the person. Because Mania's around the corner, and he was starting to get some traction. I've been saying for a while that him and Owens as a tag team, pretty badass. Then they started putting them with the Viking Raiders and having these schmaz 8-man matches, and I lost interest. But they had something going with Owens and Joe. And it's kind of sad that it fell off the tracks so suddenly. But I don't see any way that he makes Mania now. Again, he's not able to come back to the 30th. The 25th. That's a Wednesday. 5 days later, he'll be eligible show-wise on a Monday night. By then, guys, we're just days away from Mania. So all the best to Joe and whatever this whole situation was stemmed from or caused from. Hopefully they know the exact source, and hopefully Joe X-nays that from his diet or ingestion. Because the second violation is far worse than 30 days, I assure you. And the stigma attached to it is even more damaging. So, nothing but the utmost best for Joe in his career going forward. But that's the latest news, guys. That is actually confirmed by WWE. Joe has violated. And, the 30 days took into effect February 24th. So, we'll see where that goes. I also want to talk about The Undertaker. That's another big story developing at the moment. Undertaker this is confirmed. There's actual video footage and photos taken. Undertaker is in Saudi Arabia at the moment. He had a hoodie on, so I don't know if he was trying to escape the crowds and escape photos, so he'd still be a mystery surprise at Saudi Arabia. But the mystery is out. It's no longer a mystery. Undertaker is in Saudi Arabia. He looks to be a part of the show in surprise format. I don't know if he was advertised in Saudi Arabia, but as far as here in the States, he was not advertised for the show. So it absolutely looks like it's going to be a surprise type of return, set something up for WrestleMania. Now, we're hearing, obviously, and we've been hearing about AJ Styles versus The Undertaker at Mania. Why? There's some people that are excited about that. And can I just ask the question, why? What excites you about Undertaker Styles? If it was 10 years ago, yes. If it was like Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. But The Undertaker, and I love Taker, you guys know this. But The Undertaker is way past his prime, dude. I'm not saying he can't deliver a good match, but it would have to be drastically overhauled. It would have to fit what Taker can do today. Styles might just be out of his prime, and if he is out of his prime, it's just barely. But Styles can still rock out with the best of them. So what you're asking Styles to do is kind of dumb it down a little bit. That's what you're asking him to do. Dumb down your style, go backwards a bit, and go to Taker's pace. Because Taker cannot keep up the same pace that Shawn Michaels gave him at WrestleMania 25 and 26. That's impossible. Now, to Undertaker, he may want to relive that day in those days, WrestleMania 25 and 26, but it's not going to happen. Not with somebody like Styles. So I think the people that are getting excited are just thinking about the names. Wow, Styles and Taker. But you're wanting a classic match, right? You're not thinking Styles Taker. Yes, this is going to be an awesome 2-minute squash match. We know what we're going to get with these two. It's going to be a squash match. No, that's not what you're thinking. You're thinking Taker Styles, a classic. Am I right? It's not like Bray Wyatt and Goldberg. You hear those names and you don't even need a storyline. You're sold. Goldberg, Wyatt. You know this is going to be 2 minutes probably. If they want to get super creative, maybe it goes 5 minutes. But you know what to expect with Wyatt and Goldberg. With Styles and Taker, you're not okay with a 2-minute squash. You want a classic. You want 15 minutes at least, and over 20 minutes is what you really crave. But Taker can't last that long with Styles, man. And the ending is obvious, right? Styles takes the L. I mean, Undertaker has had this glorious WrestleMania career. What's he going to do? Eat a loss to Styles? And even if he does, what does that mean? It just tarnishes Taker more. We don't need to see Taker lose a WrestleMania match to Styles. It does nothing. And I don't want to see Styles lose to The Undertaker. AJ Styles versus Aleister Black is sitting in their lap. They started something cool Monday. And do you guys realize, put this into your dome piece for a second, please. Think about this. AJ Styles versus Aleister Black. These are two dudes that would tear it down. That's WrestleMania worthy. Styles doesn't have to slow down his pace. Aleister Black gets a big-time match with somebody like Styles. Styles gets to actually compete in or just barely out of his prime, but still able to rock. At this point in Styles' career, he should be having these type of matches with Aleister Black at Mania, because Styles can still go. He shouldn't be having to slow down his pace now because he's taking on The Undertaker in 2020. Again, if this was years ago, I'm on board. I'm super excited. Now in 2020? Have you guys seen Taker recently? And I love Taker. And I say it time and time again, Taker should still have his wrestling matches if he wants to, because I'm down for it. I love watching him take that 5-minute walk down the aisle. I love watching him in the ring for the 5 minutes he's in there. But it shouldn't be more than 5 minutes. He shouldn't be in there with guys like Styles just because of nostalgia, just because of his name and what he did back in the day. It's WrestleMania. Let's get the best possible match we can get. Styles versus Black is clearly better than Styles versus Undertaker if you guys take the name out of it. Of course the name Undertaker is going to be more prominent than Aleister Black, right? So the casual will be like, oh, this is awesome. But the match, man, Styles and Black will tear it down. That match is sitting in your lap because they just kicked it off on Monday. Now, they didn't really announce the match would actually take place on Monday, this upcoming Monday in Brooklyn. Black just said, Monday, we fight. So WWE has it out. If they don't want to have them wrestle Monday night in Brooklyn, have them wrestle at WrestleMania. There's no reason we should be seeing AJ Styles and Aleister Black this Monday on Raw. But everybody is speculating that Undertaker is going to show up during the Styles match and start a Styles WrestleMania match. So whatever Styles is doing on Super Showdown, that's where Undertaker will kick off this feud. I think that is the wrong way to go. I hope somebody makes the necessary change. I hope they find something else for Undertaker. I'm okay with seeing Taker at Mania, just not in there with Styles. That is a drastic mistake. But Undertaker's definitely a part of Mania, whether it's with AJ Styles or not. He's in Saudi Arabia and Washington, D.C. in their arena for Monday Night Raw on March 9th. That's a couple Raws from now. Next week, I believe, is, again, Brooklyn. And then they go to D.C. Well, that D.C. arena is already advertising The Undertaker's return. So Taker will be on Raw March 9th. That's the same Raw that Edge is returning on. Edge is also advertised for his return. That's all on March 9th. If you guys do the math, that is exactly one day after Elimination Chamber. That is the post-show. So that is when the road to WrestleMania, seriously, they hit the gas pedal and we start flying toward WrestleMania. So they're pulling out all the stops on March 9th. Right after Elimination Chamber, they're bringing back Edge. They're bringing out Taker. And they're probably going to have a host of tricks up their sleeve to get people way more excited than they are now about Mania. But that's the Undertaker sitch. He has been spotted in Saudi Arabia, even though he's unannounced. It looks to be some type of surprise, and we'll find out who Undertaker's opponent is for Mania probably tomorrow afternoon. Rusev. Let's go over to Roos. A lot of people talking about his back issues now, and that's why he's back on the shelf. I call BS. I'm not saying his back's not sore. I'm sure every wrestler has a sore back, neck, arm, you name it, they're sore. That's why they're violating the wellness policy. But you're not fooling BC here. This is obviously Rusev and Vince McMahon not seeing eye to eye. Rusev has been on the shelf way more in the last year than he's been in WWE. And a lot of that was not injury. A lot of that is contract negotiations failing. Rusev not being happy. McMahon not being transparent with Rusev. Lana just signed a new 5-year deal. Rusev did, though. Rusev's not happy. Rusev comes back, he does some dates, and what have we seen the trend? He's right back on the outs. And it's always something new. Oh, his shoulder is sore. Oh, he's got back issues right now. How about we call it what it is? He's got a Vince McMahon issue. I think Rusev's days are numbers. Even if he signed a new 5-year deal that we didn't know about and it comes to fruition in the next couple weeks, right? Let's say next week we find out he actually signed when Lana signed. It wouldn't matter. I don't think Rusev is happy at all anymore in that company. I think he wants out. I think he's just biding his time. He's got 3 letters in his dome piece, and it's not WWE, I assure you. Lastly, guys, I want to talk about, before I get to Kenny Omega anyway, because I have a long little rant on Kenny Omega, and you guys know I love Kenny Omega. And that's why I'm more frustrated with this latest interview in his comments. Because that's not the Kenny Omega I know. But before I get to that, I want to talk British Bulldog. He's being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they just released who's going to be inducting him. And this is awesome. It's actually Bret the Hitman Hart. Who better to induct the British Bulldog than Bret Hart? When you think British Bulldog in WWE, one of the first things that comes to your mind, I bet, if you're an old-time fan like yours truly, long time, I shouldn't say, I know, what are you talking about? A long time fan, how's that? If you're like the Amplified Man, you've been watching for decades, you know that when you think British Bulldog, one of the first things that come to mind, aside from Matilda, if you don't know who Matilda is with British Bulldog, just Google British Bulldog Matilda. You'll see one of the cutest dogs you'll ever see in your lifetime. But Matilda will come to mind, but also Bret Hart will be one of the first things to come to mind when you're talking SummerSlam, baby, 92, and that Intercontinental Championship, Wembley Stadium, sold out, packed to the max, full to capacity, and the British Bulldog did the deed in the homeland. That moment still gives me goosebumps, man. And that night, they were joined in history for eternity. They were going to be inseparable at that point, whether they loved each other or not. You were always going to resonate the British Bulldog name with Bret Hart ever since their SummerSlam Intercontinental Championship match in Wembley Stadium. They were always going to be in connection with one another. And even when I think Bret Hart, one of the first things that come to mind isn't just the Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 12 match. It's not his altercations with Vince McMahon. It's the British Bulldog, because that was a masterpiece match. That was easily the British Bulldog's best match of his career and one of Bret Hart's best matches of his career. One of Bret Hart's best matches. He's had many. But for Bulldog, he was always known as a body guy. But he was a body dude that could go in the ring. But to literally say that I can pinpoint his best match ever, I can. SummerSlam Wembley Stadium Championship match with Bret Hart. So I think that was an awesome announcement, and I'm just going to love hearing Bret Hart tell some British Bulldog stories. Man, warms the Amplified Man's heart, man, and again, gives me those goosebumps. Let me get a sip of coffee, and then we're going to talk about an Omega. So Kenny Omega was recently interviewed by the Sporting News, and I have to give the Sporting News the utmost credit here because they came right out and asked a question to Omega that a lot of us have been thinking and feeling when it comes to Omega in AEW. And the Sporting News asked about those fans, those critics, if you will, that say he's been underperforming since AEW got started, that basically he's underbooked. Or as the Amplified Man says straight out, it doesn't feel like Omega is booked like a top superstar. We haven't seen those Omega-esque matches yet. We know he's capable of it, but we feel that because he's an EVP, because he's one of the head honchos, he feels like he has to take a few steps back, let others get a bit of a push. And that's great if your main focus is charity work. That's great as an EVP down the road when you have to build other superstars. But this is the beginning of AEW. This is the start, and right from the jump, you have to show your fans, and that includes casual fans, why they should care about AEW. Well, what brought everybody to the yard? What brought everybody to the dance? Why was everybody behind AEW before AEW really even got started? It was because of superstars like Kenny Omega. But we haven't seen the Kenny Omega from New Japan Pro Wrestling. No, we've seen a really subdued Kenny Omega. The top achievement Kenny Omega has in AEW is a tag team championship with Hangman Page right now. So a lot of people are left wondering, where's Kenny Omega at? We understand he's an EVP and he doesn't want to make it seem like he's pushing himself, but that's exactly what needs to happen right now. I knew this EVP thing was going to be an issue. I knew it was going to be a problem. Because now I feel he's consciously taking steps back to make it seem like he's not pushing himself. But the fact remains, he's one of the best in that promotion. That's why everybody came to AEW, to see those Omega matches. And I know, BC, give it time. It's still their first 6 months, man. My point is, this is a crucial 6 months. This was supposed to show the world who and what AEW is, and who is Kenny Omega. This mysterious guy that the casual fan has been hearing about for years now over in Japan. They finally get to see him here in the States. They finally get to see him on their cable network every Wednesday night. That's Kenny Omega, the casual fan is thinking? That's what all the hoopla was about? A tag team mid-carder at best? And you guys know BC is high on Omega. I'm really high on Omega because I've seen his talent firsthand. And when AEW originated and I found out that Omega was not going to WWE, he's going to go to AEW, man, I really had these expectations. I was really thinking the world is going to see who Kenny Omega is. AEW is going to be undeniable. Even if you want to hate on AEW, you're not going to be able to because you're going to be seeing these Omega-esque matches. I was proven wrong. Here we are headed toward the first 6 months completed, and Omega has been an afterthought. Even with a tag team championship. Now I know, BC, give it time. Trust me, I'm hoping that. I am giving it time. I've been giving it time. I'm hoping that in the next 6 months, Omega will start to pick up that pace in his push, in his booking. I don't care if it seems like he's pushing himself because he's the EVP. Tough shit. Everybody else will have to earn their spot. Omega has already done such. I don't care if you call him an EVP or the owner of the world. A president of a country. I don't care what his title is. He should be top player in AEW. Right there. Sharing that spotlight with the Jerichos. In time, you say. Okay. But in the meantime, Omega needs to be a prominent star. Playing around in the tag team division is not what anybody expected, and I feel that is a huge dent in AEW's game right now. They did not utilize Omega correctly from the jump. The only thing we can really remember with Omega in AEW thus far, the only thing of memory that comes to mind is Omega and Mox in the crazy street fight, no holds barred, whatever type of match they had where everything was utilized underneath the sun. But that's not an Omega clinic wrestling match. His series of matches with Pac have been drastically underwhelming. Good matches? Yes. Way too spread out and far and few between. One here, a month and a half later here, a month and a half later here. This is not what I expected, and I know it's not what a lot of people expected. So when he was asked this, let's get to what he actually says, and I quote, and he starts running in circles. He doesn't really answer anything here. He starts talking a bunch of gibberish, and again, this is coming from somebody who likes Omega, who wanted to see the best from Omega from the jump. I didn't want to wait 6 months. I didn't want to wait a year. This is what Omega said when asked about fans that believe he is underperforming or underbooked. He laughs at first, and Omega says, and I quote, "It's funny because I feel like when people, and I could compare it to when your favorite player perhaps gets traded to another team. When your favorite player gets traded to another team and he's initially not the top scorer or leader in assist or playing the way that he used to play like he did for the home team, your team. It's easy to criticize them and say that you made a big mistake, that you'll never be the same guy again, and that it's all downhill." Nobody said that though, Omega. Nobody says it's downhill. Nobody said that you made this big mistake. We're saying, hey, you going to AEW is probably the right move and not signing with WWE. But nobody's saying that you'll never be the same guy again. We want to see that guy. We know it's in you. You're the only one that's not showcasing the guy that is within you. Omega then goes on and says, because I decided to take a different path in my career, because I'm not doing these long, drawn-out 45-minute to 1-hour matches in singles competition, it doesn't mean that I'm not the same guy. This isn't about tooting my own horn, but it's like now I'm helping run a company that has live television every Wednesday. I'm part of a very successful tag team with Hangman Page, a guy that I have a lot of chemistry with. And I'm existing within a division of guys that are amongst the top of all tag teams on all of the planet, in showing that it takes more than just having a good long singles match to be called the best in the world. Horseshit, Omega. That is absolute crap and you know it. You took a back seat from having classic 45-minute matches, classic one-on-one matches, which is what pro wrestling is based on, the foundation. You took a backseat so that you could showcase a tag team side of you. To showcase that you're existing, in your words, within a division of guys that are amongst the best of the tag teams in all the planet. You want to prove that and show that it takes more than just having a good long singles match. Okay, you know what, Omega? If that's the case, you proved it. Now, can we see some classic Omega matches now? I find it hard to believe. And then he doubles down on that too as we go forward. He says, you gotta be a good tag team wrestler. You have to be a good 6-man tag team wrestler. Oh my God. At this point, I want to put my dome piece through a cement wall. Did he just say that? I want to repeat that. You have to be a good tag team wrestler. You have to be a good 6-man tag team wrestler. Who says what? Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't have to be a good 6-man tag team wrestler. Or even a good tag team wrestler. Maybe Stunning Steve had to be in WCW with Brian Pillman as they were the Hollywood Blondes. Stone Cold does not have to ever be in a tag team match, nor did he ever. You never had to put The Undertaker into a tag team. We didn't need to see him and Kane for us to go, wow, Undertaker's badass. You don't need to be in a 6-man tag team match. You don't have to be a 6-man tag team type of wrestler to showcase every aspect of what you have to offer. Please, that is absolute horseshit. He says, and I quote, "You have to be good at your gimmick matches." Where is this coming from? You're making this more complicated, Omega. You came to AEW, now showcase why people fell in love with Omega from the jump. Why did everybody get behind Omega, including BC, when you were in Japan? It's because what you were doing in that ring, what others were not doing for those half an hour and 45 minutes. Now, yes, you can't do that well, you could. But nobody's expecting you to do that every single Wednesday night on cable television. But 6 months into the company, we would expect a few of those gems by now. No, only one memorable match, and it was not one of those classics, not one of those gems. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and that was the match you had with Mox. But it's not what we've come to love about Omega. And as a company that is just starting out, and you have a lot of casuals that were tuning in the last 6 months, some of them, a lot of them may have walked away because they didn't like what they seen. I'm hoping it wasn't many, but I'm guessing a lot did. You had a chance from the jump to show everyone who is Kenny Omega. The first few months, absolutely non-existent, it seemed. The booking was just not there. Even with the Mox feud, I felt it wasn't quite overtaking what AEW is. I felt it wasn't done correctly from the jump. And now, here we are, nearly 6 months later, and you're steadily, sternly in the tag team division. That's great if you're Darby Allin or Jungle Boy, even Luchasaurus, who I'm high on. Kenny Omega should not be implemented deep within the tag team division with the Young Bucks. He goes on to say, in ways, this is all me in my creative peak. I mean, I'm talking about my storyline with Ibushi. I don't know if you call that the best bout machine Kenny Omega or not. But to me, that's something different. It's these layers of these things that go into making what I think makes a true best in the world. Not just one guy that has the same kind of match over and over and over again. Because I do not have that same match over and over again. Does that not make me just as good? What do you say? That doesn't even make sense. You're speaking in tongues, Omega. What are you saying to me, Omega? You're overcomplicating this. The bottom line is, people loved you in New Japan for a reason. You got over as one of the top stars in the world without even stepping foot in WWE for a reason. You come to AEW and it seems, I know it's not true because I know it's within you, but it seems you're a shell of what you once were. That's nobody's fault. That's not just a critic or a fan saying it just to be mean. What it is what we are seeing. It's your booking. It's not that hard to comprehend why people are alluding to that fact. And your response is speaking in tongues. Oh, I feel I need to do tag team and 6-man tag matches. Yes, definitely, Omega. That's the side and the layer that we need to see out of you. When I thought AEW is forming, when I heard that Omega is coming to AEW and he's going to be leading the ship with others, I thought, wow, Omega's going to rock it in 6-man tag action. Omega says it just makes me something different. I'm trying to round out. I'm trying to fill the gaps around the edges and make myself a complete package in all of professional wrestling. That even goes beyond what I do in the ring, but actually behind the scenes too. There's a business aspect to it to balance all of that and still trying to kind of check off these boxes. And that's Omega admitting right there. You know, the business side of it is taking a big drastic effect in all of this. And that's what I mean about being an EVP. I truly feel that he feels he can't or shouldn't book himself in big time matches or main events consistently. But you need to. Before you can start talking about Darby Allin and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus and all these main events, you have to establish AEW first. I'm all for establishing superstars. I'm all for showcasing, even to the casual fans, individuals they probably have never heard before. That's why you have a 2-hour show, a 2-hour platform. But before you can do that, you have to establish what AEW is first. And what brought everyone to the dance right from the jump was names like Kenny Omega. But if those guys are playing around in 6-man tag matches, if they're in the mid-card with tag team titles, what does that say for a Darby Allin, a Jungle Boy, or a Luchasaurus? The real diehard AEW fans, yeah, they're going to be like, I'm okay with this, and that's cool. But it's going to take a lot more than just that group to build upon something really epic or something that AEW can be in the future. You really wanna, would you admit it or not, you really want to knock Vince McMahon on his ass. You really want to show WWE that if they're not on their game, they will be steamrolled. Guys like Omega can do that. And here you have him saying, oh, I'm kind of done with that. I'm trying to round myself off now. I'm going to be in more tag team and 6-mans and maybe 8-mans in the future. And hey, maybe we'll have the first ever 27-man championship match, right? It'll be like a handicap. 14 on 13. I want to round out my character. I want to see if we could pull off the 27-man match. I want to see if we can have a 90-man battle royal and maybe have a division one day. The 90-man battle royal division. What is he talking about? I have no idea. Just be Kenny Omega, dude. Just be the dude that made you the dude. Be the guy that made you the guy. Be the superstar that made you the superstar. You guys realize, to back up my statements, do you realize he has had more tag team / 6-man tag type of matches than singles match during AEW's run? I'm going to say that again. He has had more multi-man matches than singles matches in AEW. And that's in half of a year. That's not Kenny Omega, dude. That's the Young Bucks. You could say it's Jungle Boy. You could say it's Orange Cassidy. Pick anybody in the Dark Order. My boys, and you know I'm high on them. SCU. But you cannot or should not be saying that about Omega. Nobody at the start of AEW cares about you rounding out your character. And in your mind, that means having multi-man matches. Wow, you're real rounded out now. Now, can you come back to reality, please? That's my spiel and rant on Kenny Omega. You guys know I'm high on him, and that's why it's an extra layer of frustration, because I just don't understand it. I was hoping to get some clarity in his answer to this question. Again, thanks to, I believe, who is it, the Sporting News, for asking him that. But I got no clarity. I got a dude who's running in circles. I got a dude who's trying to justify his actions, justify his own booking, when it's unjustifiable. It's unacceptable. You're Omega. Act like it. I want to see AEW really succeed. Not just competing with NXT, but succeed. A dude like Omega can drastically help. I'm the Amplified Man. Thank you guys for this impromptu video, for joining, and for those that made it minute 1 all the way to the final minute. No skipping around. You guys are the tried and true Amp unit. Much love to you guys. Again, we'll see what we can produce later this week, but it looks like I'll be back with you guys next week. So enjoy the rest of your Feb, and we are going to rock out the road to WrestleMania starting in March, baby. The Ant-Man. Check you later.